The holidays are coming, and I just want to say to everyone who's listening to this, Lashon Tovah, Happy New Year to everyone out there and all the readers of this newspaper who are now watching this video. Rabbi Shemtov, thank you very much for agreeing to this interview. The Day of Atonement, I'm not sure that it is that many people don't quite understand it the way that you explained it to me on the phone the other day. That atonement is not an instantaneous thing. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. Discuss.
Discuss. Well, I just using that. It's not an overnight thing. The analogy that's coming up a lot lately for me is, especially coming out of the pandemic, it's not a light switch that you turn on and off. You don't automatically turn it on. And now that I have a dog, his trainer actually said the exact same thing to me. So it is not instantaneous. And people are encouraged to begin the process of thinking about atonement, thinking about forgiving others, being forgiven, well in advance of the holiday. And this is a book that I was telling you about on the phone. I have to show the whole cover. This is real. This is real, and you are completely unprepared. By Rabbi Alan Lew of blessed memory. When he begins the process in the summertime. In the summer there is, I wouldn't call it a holiday, but it's a day of commemoration. It's called Tisha B'Av, the 9th of the Jewish month of Av, that commemorates the destruction of the two temples and pretty much every other bad thing that's ever happened in Jewish history. The Holocaust is in there. 1492, the Jews were chased out of Spain. And many. So his book begins with that event, which is usually smack in the middle of the summer.
Is that related to the Inquisition?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's the word I was looking for. Inquisition. That didn't come to, yes. So just another one of those events where terrible things happened to the Jews. So he begins this process in the summertime. And then more formally, the month of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is called, in Hebrew, is called Tishrei. And the month leading up to that is Elul. And during the month of Elul, we blow the shofar every morning. Some people may not know that. It's maybe we're used to just hearing about the shofar being blown on Rosh Hashanah, but it's blown every morning, except Shabbat really, for this entire month of Elul. And it's really that wake-up call. That's what they talk about the shofar. One of the analogies they use for the shofar is that loud blast. It's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for us to begin this process of atoning for our sins. And there's sins between God and man, and those are automatically forgiven. But the more difficult ones between man and man really have to be worked on and discussed.
Because we like to hold a grudge.
We love to hold a grudge.
We're grudge holders.
We are. Whoever the we is, I'm not sure, but I think mankind, humankind, I don't think it's just Jews, but yes.
One of the great blessings about growing older is that you tend to forget transgressions against you. You go, I did what? What are you talking about? I did that?
Right.
And then the forgiveness happens.
Right, but there's a third piece to it too, which is forgiving ourselves. And sometimes I think that's the hardest thing to do. Just to be able to forgive ourselves. We know we did this thing, and we're able to ask forgiveness from somebody else who gives it to us. And in Judaism, the tradition is you go back 3 times. If the person won't forgive you the first time, you go back the third time. And the third time, if that person doesn't forgive you, it's on them. It's on them now. So
I've never heard that. Brilliant. That is such a wonderful protocol.
It is. But the process, I don't know exactly what the process would be for forgiving ourselves, because how do we go to ourselves to ask for forgiveness, right? So I find that to be one of the most difficult things to be able to do. So, and it's so there's this, and then there's this period of time once we hit Rosh Hashanah and we come to this month of Tishrei. From Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, it's 10 days. And that 10 days, it gets a little more intense about what are you going to do? Are you going to ask for forgiveness? Are you going to give anybody else? What are you going to do? And then comes the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, right? If you've done all that preparation, hopefully something's percolating. And on that day, which is a fast day, we fast for essentially 25 hours. there's this moment towards the end of the service. The very last part of the Yom Kippur service is called Ne'ilah, and it involves. There's a lot of prayers that talk about the gates are closing, right? So it becomes even more intense. What are they going to do? And a lot of congregations have a tradition now, and we do this as well, where the ark is open. The ark that has the Torah scrolls in it is open throughout that last part of the service. And people are invited to come up one at a time and just stand in front of the ark and get those last minute requests in, or forgiveness, or whatever it is that you need to discuss with God.
So there is a deadline or a time frame.
Well, I mean, the liturgy talks about it, but the truth is you can atone anytime. There's just this formal process that we go through. And again, not snapping your fingers, switching on a light, and boom, it's done. And you know, sometimes maybe somebody forgives you right away, but still you've done the work of asking for forgiveness. And the other person has done the work of granting forgiveness. It's just, So yeah, the gates are closing, and people, this is a nice tradition that a lot of congregations have, where people do come up to the ark and stand in front and say whatever they need to say, and then they step back, and sometimes there's a line and people come up. So,
Right. Kind of, I keep being reminded of other faiths have similar process that goes on throughout the year. The Catholics confess their sins, and then
right, that's anytime, right?
Anytime, and then take communion the following Sunday,
right.
and then clean slate. The Jews, are doing this process in the synagogue in front of the congregation. So,
well, we are there. I was going to talk. There's a couple of prayers. There, one prayer called the Ashamnu prayer, which is literally an alphabetical list of sins. Now, we all recite it together. Does that mean we all did those sins? No. But we're reciting those sins in case there's somebody out there who did commit those sins, and we're helping to have that person be forgiven for that. And then there's a longer list of prayers called the RH. It's just a long list. And what I went back to my office to get is some people are writing sort of modern interpretations. So they all start out with for the sin of, and it could be adultery, whatever it is. But these modern ones, for the sin we have sinned against you by overlooking racism. For the sin we have sinned against you by abdicating responsibility. There was one for, for the sin we have sinned against you by not wearing a mask or not socially distancing, right? So we used a PowerPoint prayer book last year on Zoom that had some beautiful, more modern interpretations of really traditional prayers. So there's just, not only do we have that, but not only do we go through this ourselves, but we publicly do it in the synagogue, reciting these lists of sins. And again, we're doing it for the community, just in case. Certainly I haven't done all these sins, right? But there may be somebody out there, and we're helping that person. So.
But all is one. So
all is one?
Yeah, all is one. So
right. We're all connected to God.
Everything.
Right.
So if your neighbor in your family, someone down the block, commits a sin of some sort, you are somehow affected.
True enough. True enough. I mean, for many of these things, I don't know if it's true for all sins, but yes, it does impact society in general.
What about the sin of wearing white shoes after Labor Day? Is that covered in the book? Is there something about that?
Well, we're wearing white shoes. We're wearing sneakers. We're not wearing leather shoes, and we're wearing what they call a kittel.
Yeah.
I've been in congregation. The clergy wear these white kittles like a thin. I'm not even sure what to call it. It's not a gown, not like a choir gown or choir robe. But it's a thin robe, and you're essentially sort of recreating your death. Is basically what a lot of the stuff on Yom Kippur.
In advance.
Yeah,
I was thinking about wearing white today.
Today?
Yeah.
Why today?
To come here. You're wearing white.
Well, but I'm talking about on Yom Kippur Day. Yes, I will be wearing all white. I'll have sneakers on. I'll have a kittel on, but even the clothes under the kittel will be white. I mean, sometimes clergy might wear the white kittel, but they're dressed in normal, everyday clothes, not necessarily white. And I was in a congregation before I was a rabbi, in Washington, D.C., where it became a tradition for the congregants to wear a kittel every year. So every year there'd be more and more people wearing it. You're looking out and there'd be a sea of people dressed in white. So, yeah, I forgot your question, but...
White shoes after Labor Day.
Yeah, that's a very funny joke, but in fact, we are wearing...
There are all kinds of sins. There are all kinds of fashion sins that people commit every single day. And if they had to atone for every one of them, they would be busy all year round.
You don't seem like a guy that cares about that. But I could be wrong. But in any case, just regular white shoes would be leather, and that would be a no-no on Yom Kippur.
No leather. No leather on Yom Kippur.
No leather. There's a lot of restrictions on Yom Kippur.
A belt?
Huh?
A leather belt? That would probably be...
you try not to wear leather. It's really more about... well, you're probably not going to be buried, right, in a leather belt or leather shoes,
No.
but it's more about, it would be kind of a, what's the word I want to use? A luxury sort of thing. And that, so anyway.
Rabbi, tell me about the prayer.
Right, so I wrote a message to the congregation a couple of days ago, and last year we were on Zoom. Okay, we did, and we didn't think we were going to be able to do this on Zoom. How could we connect with each other? How could the prayers connect? But we did. We got creative. We worked very hard, and people loved our services last year. So we've come a long way since last year, but there's still a lot of topsy-turvy things out there. So we're trying to do a hybrid where it'll be in person with a lot of restrictions, and then also people can be on Zoom. But it feels to me, this endless news cycle of information about masks and vaccinations, and I think people are mentally and physically exhausted. So I looked at this prayer. It's called Shema Kolenu, Hear Our Voice. And I picked a few lines from it. Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu, hear our voice, Adonai our God. Chus v'rachem aleinu, be kind and have compassion. Now the line I was looking at is V'nashuva chadesh yameinu kekedem. Where is that in here? Make our days seem fresh as they once were. Wow.
That's great.
Wow, that really connects to what we're all feeling. And so we're asking God to hear our voice, be kind and compassionate, and help us find those days that seem fresh as they once were. So that was my wish for the congregation and my blessing to them, that we can all find that soon. But that's right out of the liturgy. Now, this was the translation. It's more of a poetic translation, but it works. So that was my message. And that's my message to all of you, Jewish or not, that we find our days seem fresh as they once were, very soon.
Rabbi Ellie,
yes.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
For talking pictures.
With talking pictures. Wow, we've come a long way. Talking pictures,
Yeah,
not silent ones.
Not silent. No more silence. I mean, we can't afford silence anymore, really. I mean, everybody has to get somehow involved in all these things. In addressing all these things,
right.
These issues.
That was a little metaphor about talking movies and silent movies.
Yes.
Since I used to be a film librarian, but that was
Yes.
a very good response. You're good at this.
And I just want to thank you so much. And people, is everyone who member or not welcome to come here on the holidays?
They are, but if they're not a member, they need to check in with our office. We just require a small donation. It's really relative to what you might see in other parts of the country. It's really just a small donation. But we just want to know that you're here, and especially if you're going to come in on Zoom, we really need to know before we let you in that you're going to come. So yes, everybody's welcome.
All right, so for more information, people can go to the website,
Go to the website. Yeah, I should have our phone number memorized, right? But I don't. But you'll see our phone number for our office. Just call our office. Yeah, absolutely. And then you'll know when the holidays are actually happening. And the second day of Rosh Hashanah, we're doing at one of our congregants' farms in Tinmouth.
Nice.
Second day outside. It's quite something to listen to the shofar being blown on top of a mountain. So.
With our actual goats nearby. Responding.
Right, you're good. Azazel.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi. Jackie Mason.
Yes.
Comments.